Yeah, yeah. The Kings is back.
Wait,
Wait,
we never left,
right?
dude.
I mean,
honestly,
right.
we never left, right?
I'm a relic in a land of tryhards. I'm the epic blowing through stands with diehards. You can try, boss, but I guarantee you'll die soft. I can't be stopped or silenced. I'm the copulation of violence. It's already decided when I signed it. We stay culture focused and we crown minded. The bang hitting you quickly, reminded that we the livest on your block, and it's time this box. Call the cops. Protect your neck then. Getting hype in every.
Hey guys, welcome to the lab. We're back with another episode of Sundaze with the Clink Room. We're joined by Layne. Layne, how are you today?
Good, my friend. Thanks for inviting me. I'm really excited.
Awesome to have you. Congratulations on the big week that you have so far. So I'm kind of stepped up in the time of I guess Christmas need or holiday need for TC and the team there. But we'll get into your collection and your pre-order in a couple minutes. But first and foremost, for people who don't know you, can you kind of give them a brief breakdown of how you kind of started collabing with the Clink Room?
Yeah, that's actually a cool story. At least I think it is. Like, I kind of, similar to you, I think, I kind of heard about the Clink Room. Yeah, I knew about the 1.0s. I knew about that. And I always was like, oh, I want to buy that hat because I saw it online and I just couldn't because that was it. They weren't around anymore.
Yep.
And then I think during the pandemic, I was out for a walk one day and I follow a lot of hat sites as it is. And someone either mentioned or maybe it came up in my algorithm to follow this store. And I'm like, oh, the Clink is back. And I realized they had a 2.0. I was like, oh, that's nuts. And then I paid attention. I started realizing what they were doing. Like, oh, they're letting people submit their ideas. I'm like, that's cool. I'm not a designer, so it doesn't really, apply to me. And then I, as the weeks went on, I was like, this would be so cool if I have so many ideas. And I remember I messaged the Clink Room. I didn't know who Casey was at the time. This must be like 4 or 5 years ago. I didn't even know. And they had like probably 5,000 followers. They were really, really small. Obviously, it's grown since then. And I messaged them, and within minutes, it felt like I got a reply. And it was Casey directly. But that's the type of thing doesn't really happen anymore. Casey doesn't even, I don't think, check social media anymore, I believe. But he's got a team for that now. So we were messaging, and I said, hey, I've got so many ideas, but I just can't draw. I'm really, really bad. Like, I used to draw as a kid, and that was decades ago. And he's like, listen, just sketch something, anything. And if that doesn't work, just email me a couple paragraphs. Like if that's the last resort. And he's like, maybe we could work with you on something if it's good. So I remember I went to Michael's, the craft store, and I got some tracing paper. And I would just like kind of Google the images I was thinking about, not to steal them, but I was trying to just give an idea. Right. So I remember the first one was like an executioner, which Casey ended up designing that one. And I just kind of found it. I think what is that called? Goosebumps? That book, the book's Goosebumps. I think I Googled the executioner, and one of the things that came up was the Goosebumps executioner, like walking down these medieval stairs. And I was like, oh, that's so cool. So I traced that, and I just kind of just put aspects together of what I pictured. And Casey's like, and by the way, this is after a couple failed attempts. There was a few other things that Casey was like, oh, that's nice. He's just so nice. It's not like he'll ever say no. Casey's like, oh, that's cool. Yeah, keep working. And they're like, gotcha. And then, so I finally did the executioner, and then he was like, oh, the Clink Room does not have an executioner yet. So this was back in a day when Casey had a time to spend on this. So he drew it, and he came back to me with it. And we were like, oh, this is great. And that's how that hat came about. And then shortly after that was the Woofers hat. Both of these hats did not sell well because there was only so many followers, This was also back when Clink Room had hats out for 3 weeks. Now they're up to 4 weeks, which has happened a few years ago. That's relatively new still. So early on, it was that. It was Casey designing the first couple of hats, and then things started to pick up after the second hat. And I'm like, hey, I have more ideas. And he's like, hey, I don't have time. So he's like, do you know who Aurelian is? Do you know who Yakobu is? And I'm like, yeah, I've seen their stuff. He's like, reach out to them. And this is back when those guys had time. So I started messaging them, and they were both receptive, and we go back and forth. And us three separately on different chains had a hot streak going for a minute there. That was like pretty wild. We had some of the really cool ones there. The boxing one, Jungle Rumblers rather, it's called. We had just a lot of good stuff going, a really good streak. Over time they got busy, and I think people started seeing that I was using them a lot, and more collaborators came in, and conceptual people came in, and they started using them, and so it was taking longer to get my concepts made, which I totally understand. So I started stretching out and meeting the Patrick Flanagans and the Josh Volz and the Jay Matts and all these people, and it just I learned quickly that with the size of Clink and the way it was growing, and more people were trying to submit very frequently, that I had to stretch out and kind of have multiple stones in the oven. What is it? I had multiple cooks in the kitchen. I don't know what I'm going to call it, but I had to have a lot going at once in order to get anything done. So there would be times, 6-7 times, where I'd have different artists working with me at one time just to keep things going. So that's kind of how it took off. But I think I got lucky in the sense that, and I mentioned this to people, like I came along, and just like you, like at a point in time where Casey wasn't that swamped, like I mentioned. So he was able to talk to you and I, or whoever, Pierre, or like people like Jacobo, Aurelian, one-on-one early, and we'd have his attention because it wasn't that popular yet. I think people who are coming in now, even though it's a great time to be coming into the Clink Room and submitting ideas, they're also at a disadvantage in that respect. So I formed a relationship early with Casey, and that helped in a big way. And I think I've had his ear since then. That's been really lucky. I've been lucky in that sense. I stumbled upon the Clink Room at the right time, in my opinion. So that's how I started doing this. And right now it's just like, I just have like, every time I think of something that might be a good idea, I'll just have a list going, and it's just a Microsoft Word doc, just boom, 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 boom. And every now and then I'll go over that list, and I'll be like, what was I thinking? Or this one still has a chance. Like, maybe let me work my way through this more. And the one cool thing as well has been, like, back in the day, whatever idea I had, it would go to those two, or the third person or fourth person. That was it. I didn't think. And now I'm thinking, like, when I think of an idea, whose style is best for this? So my brain has changed in that regard. Like, oh, this might not be a good fit for this person, but this person, I've seen him do stuff like this before, or her. So that's been interesting to evolve with as well. Just kind of where the good fits lie. Sometimes I'll sit on an idea for months and months because I just don't know anybody that might be the perfect fit for it. So it's a lot of that. It's been. I hope this answers your question. By the way, I was rambling, so I apologize.
No, it's cool, man. It's fun because I don't think like the term concept artist really got.
It's not really a thing. I think people like me invented it. I think. Special.
Yeah. It was always something that was kind of like done, but like I think you gave it like the term. Like I had always, because like you, I can't draw for nothing. So
yeah, I suck, man.
I'm very like blessed to be able to partner with Tony Ross and kind of bend his ear, and then kind of branch out when he's busy. Sort of the same thing. It's like when they get overloaded, it's like, all right, I don't want to give you too much, so then you go find other people. But yeah, like just to kind of see your evolution and kind of you work through it. Your portfolio is huge, and to kind of see you kind of grow with artists. So like, you started like this hip hop series with Aurelian, but then you also have other things with Aurelian that have nothing to do with hip hop, and then now you're doing
even Sierra now has a couple of hip hop ones. Yeah. And I'm also I want to be very clear too. Like, there'll be people who, my family and friends, because can you guys vote for this and stuff like that? Like, they know what I'm doing. And they'll say to me, oh, that's such a cool design you have, or that's your design. That's so cool. I'm like, I will always correct people. Like, this is not my design. Like, no matter who says it, whether it be on Facebook, a comment someone makes, or on Instagram, if I catch the comment, I'll always try to nip it in the bud and be like, hey, it's my concept. Aurelian designed this, Jacobo designed this, Patrick, whoever it is designed this, because I'm very, very sensitive to that. Like, I don't want people. I cannot take credit for someone else's drawings and their sketches. I cannot do that. It makes me feel so weird because I just am so bad at it.
Yeah. How involved are you in the process? Are you doing the colors? Are you telling them to go back for edits? Like, how involved are you?
It's different for every single one. Like, there were only been a few times where I've literally sketched something. Most recently with Aurelian, and he understood what I was saying, and the design actually turned out like structurally the exact way I sketched it. But the sketch was so laughable. I'd share it, but we're not there yet. But I usually do not sketch because unless I'm trying to like really describe something that's hard for me to verbalize. I will usually go to the way it used to start is I'd start with, a very detailed bullet point of what I want. This person, whatever, this character is facing 3/4 in this direction. It's holding this, it's doing that. This is in the background, blah, blah, blah. And then, like I said, if I have to, I might sketch something. But I also will Google a lot of images, be like something I could picture in my head, like the way something's set up, just for reference sometimes. And that will help the guys too. And more often than not, it comes back and it's not exactly how I pictured it. How could it be? It's my brain. It's hard for me to explain, verbalize what I want. And that's fine. Like if these guys 9 times out of 10 come back with something better than I picture it. And from there, it's like, if something's really bothering me, like the color or arm angle or leg or whatever, like, hey, it just kind of looks like it's doing this or it's doing that. I don't really love that. Can we try this? And no one ever has been difficult. They always get it. And it's just, that's kind of how it works. Like I'll, if I notice something, I'm going to call it out for sure. But the guys I work with now at this point, I've done it with so many times that it's like, there's been many times, especially with Aurelian and Yacobo, where something comes back and I'm like, I don't have anything to say. This is like awesome. And like, I'll try to sit down and be like, should I have something to say? Like, I don't know if that makes sense. Like, is me coming back being like, this is perfect lazy? Like, and I don't create an issue where there's not an issue. But they're just so good sometimes. I'm like, fuck, like, this is it. This is so much better than I thought. So that's kind of how it works now. I sketch, but it's very infrequent because I don't want to embarrass myself in front of these guys.
I mean, I've done that too. Can you tell us a little bit about your kind of personal hat collections? You used to be a big collector. Like what made you kind of cross that line into, hey, this is something I would like to, start, pitching my own ideas. Like does your collecting habits kind of influence?
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, there was I think before the Clink Room, because again, it just didn't exist in my head. I didn't know anything about it, right? So you'd see it was just the major sports mainly, right? Different color this, different color that, and you'd see different logos and stuff like that. That was cool. But there were times like over the years where I'd be like, oh, this hat is so dope, but maybe I'll buy it, maybe I won't. But if I don't buy it, it's probably because it's missing this or it has this, and I wish it didn't have that. So I would always have little comments in my own head like, oh, this, why this color, why this, why that? Damn it, I really want that hat. So I'd always be thinking, and I always would love to have designed my own hat. But yeah, it kind of came to that, like, that's why the Clink Room was so perfect, and its timing was perfect. It was just like, oh my God, like if I could get a hat, I only wanted one hat made. That was it. When the execution got delivered to my doorstep, I was like, bucket list, I'm good. And then it just kind of snowballed. But yeah, it was kind of that. It was just like the hats are, and I still kind of think that's why Clink Room is so unique, because it's not the same old, like, it's not to sound like corny, but it's that the major sports are getting redundant to me. Like and I'm not saying this is a lot of hats. You probably have thousands. I can see behind you, you have more than I have. So like I have, I think between 450 and 5. But I can tell you in the past year and a half, if I bought more than 10 hats, I'll be stunned. So this came from years in advance, and I got into a streak, man. And I'm not proud of this because I really, this was a problem at one point. Like I got into a streak where I was every day, man, just like you probably, it was just boxes coming. And I was like, where the fuck am I going to put this? Like I had a small closet in Hollywood at the time in California. And since then I've owned a house, but now like I have a house and I'm like, I got those Tupperware, what are they, like 8, 9, 10 inches. And they're on the rolling wheels, and they probably get like, I don't know, 75 to maybe 75 hats in each. And I'm just like, what am I doing? I don't even know what I have anymore. Like I'll see a hat and I'm like, oh, that is so dope. And then I'll be like, wait a second. And I'll go through my shit and I'm like, I have this hat and I've had it for 3 years. Like, so I'm at that point now. That's when I know it's a problem. Also, I have a 17-month-old at home and I need to make space. So I'm like, I got to start subtracting at this point. Between that and sneakers, I got to start selling some stuff. Yeah. It's a lot. It's a habit. It can be an obsession at times too. It could be a bad thing if you don't have money. If you have the money for it, it's cool. Do it. But to those who like, I see comments constantly on Instagram and Facebook where people are like, oh, hold that for me. I get paid on Friday. I'm like, bro, like don't buy a hat if you're waiting for your next paycheck to get a hat. I'm against that, but that's just me personally.
No, I hear you. I mean, I'm past the point of it's too much.
It might collapse on you at any point in time.
Yeah, you'll read about it in the paper. Local man hat boxes. But
local man can. Yeah,
it becomes a thing where like, all right, like, am I gonna have to get a storage unit to support this, or am I just gonna have to
almost there? Yep.
Yeah, it's taken over multiple rooms in the house. It's ridiculous.
Uh-huh.
I haven't counted, but it's probably 7,000, 8,000.
Oh, you're pushing 10. You're getting
Yeah,
close.
yeah.
Holy shit.
I mean, but now it's like the excuse is it's for work, right? So
No, that's I was just about to cut you off and be like, hey, but you're doing something with it. It's not like me. I'm just like, now it's just like, this is a dust collector, these bins, and I got to figure this out because
yeah,
my girl's cool with it. But I could sense like a slight eye twitch every time she sees me over the closet. It's like,
yeah,
yeah, like, oh shit, close that
yeah.
door quick.
Yeah. There's no good way to store them once you
No.
get to a certain number because they're just. I mean, one hat's nothing, but when you get multiples, it's heavy.
Yeah.
So
It's good. It bears weight. Yes.
yeah, maybe that's the next step to just find a way to store them properly because I don't know if I like the whole plastic idea, just having a whole room full of like plastic containers.
Well, it looks like you label them behind you. Is that correct?
Yeah, it gets
That helps.
very specific.
Because
so.
to your point, the plastic, yes, you can see through the plastic, but when you have 75 to 80 in one plastic thing, you can't see shit except for
No.
the front two. That's it.
Yeah. I mean, even my Clink Room hats, they're very specific. So like Seamus has a box, Jason V has a box.
Okay.
Now I just started a box 5 minutes ago that's labeled food and drink,
You're that specific. I love it.
Yeah. Big Clink, Big Kong, all sorts of boxes. There's
A lot.
Asian box, a Mexican box, a dog box. So.
When they fold into each other, you're like, oh, it's two hats. It takes up no space. But then it turns into a problem when you have hundreds and thousands. So yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah, exactly.
And then, sorry, one more thing. Don't do the math on that because you do the math one day, that's really going to make you depressed. What they cost.
Exactly. In terms of your designs and concepts, do you have a favorite one that you brought to life?
Yeah. Always the executioner will have a spot in my heart because it was the first. But if people have asked me this before, and if I'm going off like, I'm gonna have to go off sentimentality in order to answer it, and that would be the Rainbow Bridge. Okay. And that's because that was my English bulldog who was alive for like 11 years, 12 years, and that's which is long for an English. And she passed from cancer, and I was like, oh, I gotta do this. So Aurelian worked on that one with me. And it was so specific, dude. I was like, there's no way Casey's going to go for this. Now, like a couple of years later, I'd probably text him and be like, hey, I want to do this. Is this a waste of time? Back then I was just submitting stuff. And actually Jay Matz, cause I was talking to him and I was like, I'm trying to think of something like to honor my dog. And he's like, have you heard of the Rainbow Bridge poem? And I had not at the time, a tearjerker of a poem. And I read it and I was like, oh shit. So then me and Aurelian started working on it, and I would go with that one because that dog on there is my dog. That English bulldog is my dog, even down to the markings. I sent so many pictures to Aurelian. I'm like, hey, let's tweak the mark above the eye. Let's tweak this and that because I want it to not to be selfish, but I wanted it to kind of be my dog on there. And I got like no joke, Leon. I got dozens of messages from people after they bought it and especially after it was delivered. I remember one guy just sent me pictures of his dog. It was like, dude, you have no idea how much this hat makes me want to like well up whenever. And then he told me a whole story about his dog, how they got the dog. It was like part of their wedding, all this stuff. And I just didn't really understand how like that poem resonated with people. And it didn't even matter which dog was on the front of the hat because I had a guy message me about his cat too. So it didn't matter what the animal was. It was just the idea and the meaning behind it, the concept. So that one's my favorite. I think by a good distance, mainly because it's so personal. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a universal message. I mean, we've seen it just being done so many times, even in the Clink Room. Within the Clink Room, like Pierre's dog.
Yeah, Pierre was like the first I saw. Yeah,
the Rottweiler, and then Flanagan had one that sold a crazy amount.
Recently. That was recently. Yeah, it's a great one too.
So, I mean, as dog people, that there's nothing that can replace it. But then the time at the end is so hard on people and. The silence of the house after.
Man, it's you have to get used to it. I still have my other dog with me now, but he's 14 now, so it's like, oh, here we go. You just everything starts to slow down. The way they walk, the way they move, you're like, oh no.
Yeah, exactly. All right, let's not
do this.
But so you talked about being on a streak early, but just kind of cruising through your IG. There's a lot, like for me, that I think that. I'm looking through and I'm seeing stuff that deserved to hit the shop, but for whatever reason didn't. Like, what do you say to the people because that takes a lot of perseverance, because you guys are putting in work and you guys are putting yourselves out there, and you might not necessarily get the right outcome. What do you do to kind of stay motivated, and what can you tell people that might get discouraged? Because we're seeing a lot of resubmissions, and it's like there's not a lot of changes to the initial design. They just like, all right, well, it didn't get in this week, so let me try again.
Well, I'm sure a lot of people will kind of roll their eyes when I answer this, because I understand that I'm kind of privileged in the sense that I have a lot of my stuff go straight through, and I get that, and I know that frustrates people, and it frustrates people for when it happens for other people as well. The only thing I could say to that, bringing this topic up myself, is that like I said, I kind of have just known those guys over there for like 5 years at this point, just like you have, and there was just a relationship forged early. That's kind of how that goes for me. But I have still had many hats go up for vote since the beginning. And it's weird because I've been doing this for over 5 years. And Leon, you've been around longer than I doing it. And it's like one thing and then Casey says this to me when I met him in San Diego. It's like, he's like, dude, I've been doing this forever and I still don't know what people will like, because something's going to be absolutely just hit. It. And then you get the final sales report and you're like, what are you talking about? How is that possible? This didn't do well and that did. And then you just can't get butthurt about it. So it's like, always expect the unexpected. And then when it comes to the voting process, I guess this sounds horribly negative, but if it's going up for vote, I'm always under the assumption that I'm not going to see it be made. And that's just preparing myself, because if you get so invested in something, you're like, this is going to kill. And you're going up against 19 other, was it 19 or they do 15 a week? Is it 20 or 15?
Now it's 20 a week. Yeah.
If you're one of 20, I mean, let's do the math, guys. It's not going to be awesome potentially, unless you just have an outstanding design. But even then, if it's too low, Casey can always look at something and know when it's going to be embroidered well or it's going to hit. So, or at least have an idea that it will. So it's not necessarily the numbers, as he said. I know people don't agree with that always, or believe that rather. But yeah, it's just expect I expect the worst when it goes to vote. I've been surprised before. I've been upset other times. It's just assume. For me, I just don't assume it's going to make it. But everybody got their own way of doing it. But keep trying, of course. The good thing now, the Clink has added now, does this need work? Is it not ready? Blah, blah, blah. Voting has changed in a way instead of just a yes or no. So hopefully people take that to heart and don't give up on a concept. I mean, if a concept is great, keep working at it. But at the same time, really take a step back. Because Casey said this to me a long time ago, and I'm sure he said it to you. Is it cool? Because I've seen, do I think all of my stuff is cool? No. And I get some people would not think it's cool. But there's been many times where showed something to Casey. He's like, this is great, but is it cool? And I'm like, I get it. You don't think it's cool. All right. So ask yourself that. Don't only go to your family and friends. Ask other people who are not your family and friends. Could you see a dude rocking this fitted hat, as he's shopping in the mall? If it's something super corny, you might want to just take a step back and be like, maybe a few people will like this, but not enough that it's going to sell well, stuff like that. So just don't beat yourself up over the votes. The votes will drive a person mad. I can tell you that. I stopped caring about that a long time ago. Again, a lot of mine go through, but the ones that do go up for vote, I kind of just look at it like, probably ain't going to work out for me on this one, but we'll see what happens,
Well, even a week like this week. So for example, we just had 2 weeks off. So now you're in the pile of 3 weeks.
That pile is huge. Yeah.
And then to make it out of that, now it's 3 weeks worth. They pick the cream of the crop to be in 20, and now those 20, anywhere from 3 to 6 might make it, depending on what the queue's looking like.
Probably closer to 3. Yeah, probably closer to 3. Exactly. It's hard, man. It's hard. Creature and Heather and them, they do. They constantly have stuff in there. Win does as well, and they've all been doing quite well. We all know Win does well, but Creature does well. I know Heather does well. There's a lot of people who have a lot of success in the crits. So to those who are wanting to know how to get their stuff through, I mean, I know that they've both struggled at times too. They have a nice resume on Clink Room right now, but they'll be the first to tell you they've had some stuff that they don't understand why it didn't make it through, or they had some really tough streaks. I think everybody has. So just stick with it. Heather's a great example though. Heather, I've told her this on IG, she's a different human being artistically than she was 2 year and a half, 2 years ago. Go ahead. Yeah. I don't know if she has it on her IG page, but if you look at her first stuff she submitted, it was like, that's never going to make it. And no offense to her, it just wasn't ready. And then now you're like, okay, this is everything she submits is like, this has a very strong chance. So it's pretty wild to watch people evolve too. So again, to my point of not quitting, like, don't quit, because your art will continue to get better and better and better. And then, you're going to be in there pretty regularly.
Yeah. She often talks about how much time she spends watching
YouTube
tutorials and
it shows
programs.
It shows.
So
good for her.
That's awesome. But all right, so let's kind of cover your collection. So it's called the Big Five Collection. I understand it's kind of based on your safari trip to Africa.
A year and a half ago, a little less than that, I think it was maybe 15 months ago, I was my work sent me out to South Africa, and I was like supposed to be there for 3 days. I'm like, I am not traveling to that part of the world for 3 days and coming right home to LA. I'm like, I cannot justify that. So I booked a day, or I went an extra day. In retrospect, I should have gone more days, but I went an extra day. And that first day, I was like, I'm going on a safari. A bucket list thing. I had the company. I thought, they'd send a vehicle to your hotel and pick you up. I thought we'd be like 50 people on a bus going. It was me and this South African dude in a car. And I'm like, are you part of the tour? He's like, yeah, I'm with the tour group. I'm like, oh. So for 3 hours, we drove into the depths, man. And just me in a regular car with him talking. And we get there, and it was like what you see on TV, Leon. It was like, here's your open top Jeep. Homeboy's got a gun next to him, and like 7 other people or so in the back. We all met in one place, and it was just like, it was Palanisberg. It was called. It was it was a reserve, and it was protected, but you couldn't. I mean, it was miles. You couldn't see gates or fences anywhere. It was just open, and it was. And they actually still have poachers cut wires and sneak in. That's how big this place is. But and from there, it was just like, you just start driving down dirt roads, and then they're on walkie-talkie with dudes all over the park, other people who are doing tours. And it's like, hey, just spotted a leopard over near watering hole number 5. And everyone sprints over there in their vehicles, trying to get the tourists the best view they can, right? Yeah. So as we went, he's like, does anybody know about the Big Five? And I didn't know what the hell he was talking about. And he said it's, watch me forget one of the animals as I'm sitting here doing this. He goes, it's a water buffalo, leopard, lion, rhino, elephant. And he goes, if you're on a tour and you see all of those in one tour, that is considered like seeing it's the white whale, man. It's so rare. And I was like, oh, that's dope. Because it's just this open place. Like, how could you see all of these things, right? So we start going, and I kid you not, within the first 90 minutes, we saw everything except the water buffalo. And he's like, guys, you have no idea how rare this is. And you're not seeing like a leopard like sitting on top of the Jeep. It's like they know how to spot it. So they were seeing like just the eyes above the brush, right? And everyone kind of sits up in the chair, and you pull out your binoculars and you can see them. And then, boom, that counts as you spotting it. And same thing with the lions. Those 2 are the hardest to see. The cats, elephants, a dime a dozen, obviously. The one thing, the day ended with the one thing that we did not see was the most slow, lazy, fucking fat thing in the world, which was the buffalo. And I was like, I cannot. Do you know how many buffalo I can see in LA? Like, I go into a zoo. It was so frustrating, because I was like, damn, man, I was one away. But anyway, he told me that's what the Big Five is. So I bought a magnet at the time, and I was like, this is dope. Put it in my refrigerator. And that was the trip. And then I remember Matthew Bell, that's his name, right? What was the week that he had dedicated to him, Leon? What was those?
4 Horsemen.
The 4 Horsemen. I was just sitting, this is like a year later now, and I'm sitting there and I see Matthew Bell dedicated week, and I was like, what the hell's that? I didn't know he had a dedicated week. That's so dope. And I'm like, and then his stuff came out, and I was like, oh, Matthew, like, he nailed it. This is so smart. I've actually never spoken to him. I got to tell him this. And then I'm like, I wonder if I could ever do something like that. And I just had nothing. Who has 6 hats ready to go in their head that are all the same theme? And I was like, oh shit, the Big Five. And so I text Casey, and I'm like, hey, I would never reach out to artists without your blessing. 5 artists, 6 artists, and then go through all this work to find out you say no, and they all fucking want to strangle me. Right? So I'm like, I can't do this. So I texted, I go, what do you think of this idea? He's like, this is dope. He's like, but what's the 6th hat? I'm like, that's a good point. I'm like, maybe my week could be just 5 if this ever worked out. And he's like, no, it's got to be 6. I go, what about all of them together? And he's like, that's cool. It's going to be really hard to get 5 animals on one design without it being really tough to embroider. So I pitched the idea of silhouette, which is not how it panned out. But originally he's like, silhouette would work. So I'm like, all right. So I reached out to the guys separately, and then I said, hey, are you into this? And then obviously the determining factor there is Casey into it, because otherwise they're wasting their time, right? I said, Casey's on board with it, with one caveat. what's the +1? What's the hook? Casey's been saying that to me for years. I'm sure you've heard it too.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, the last thing the Clink Room needs is another fucking lion, just on a hat. You know what I mean? Just a fucking lion. And he's right, right? We have Pride. We have other hats that are just lions. It's got to have more than that. Pride actually has got a hook to it, but that's not the point. You see my point?
Yeah.
So so I told the guys, if you're down to do this, let's all work together on one chat. I moved everyone to one chat on IG, and I said, and we kind of just assigned who wants the lion, who wants this, who wants that. Everybody grabbed something. Raphael was late, so he got stuck with all 5, which I don't think anybody wanted off the bat. But he got stuck with that, but he was happy to do it. And then I said to everybody, hey, we need that +1. And then everyone kind of just started bouncing ideas off of each other for what the +1 was. My first thought was, hey, let's do something dope with the framing of binoculars. Like, that's what the framing could be. And Flanagan jumped on that, and he had the elephants, right, coming out. You could see the glare and the binoculars, so dope. And then Jacobo did that as well. If you look on his design with the leopard, he's got the cracked binoculars on the ground, almost like, hey, you got too close to the lion. It kind of fucked you up. And then the rest, like the toughest one was Milos. Actually, he obviously he's outstanding at everything he does, but he was like, I'm having trouble with the +1, and he and I went back and forth a couple times, and I did some research, and I realized that Polanisberg Reserve is like on top of or set right around a volcano that's, I believe, non-active. And it was like, oh, that's a dope +1. So that's how he has, like, you could see the volcano in the background. You could see like the cracks of like lava in the body of the lion. So Casey's big thing was a +1. These guys worked on it for months. We went back and forth. This chat was out of control. It was just boom, 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 boom. And then for weeks on end, it would be silent. Motherfuckers would just disappear. And like, wonder if anybody's working on this anymore. And then they would start chatting again. And finally, everyone submitted we came up with a date, and everyone submitted their, final draft 1, if you will. And I said, all right, everyone stand by. I'm going to email Casey. I emailed him this fucking long email, Leon. Everyone's design with like 2 paragraphs explaining the +1, explaining why this is important. And literally no response, right? Which that happens with Casey. Yep. And finally, after a week, I texted him. I was hey, I text you, check your email when you get a chance. He goes, can you just text me here? I'm like, oh, fuck, man. I put so much time into this email. So I just started screenshotting or grabbing the pictures rather and texting him just shorter blurbs. And I was expecting so much feedback, and he was just like, these are fucking gorgeous. He's like, they're good. Don't change anything. I was like, what? So the guys lost it. The guys were thrilled. And that was several months ago. We kind of just been waiting for our turn. And that's kind of the story behind it. It was really unique because I've only worked with one person at a time, even though there's 4 or 5 people at a time on separate designs. Working on one theme with so many people was interesting. And also the time zones. Everyone's on a different time zone. It was challenging, but it was really fun.
Yeah,
really
that's like a master class on.
Yeah, and getting also everyone has different notes on someone else's work, and respectfully, right? Yeah. And everyone was just so cool with taking notes. No one said, fuck this guy. Why is he saying this about my work? Like, everyone was so cool, man. It was such a cool team dynamic. It really was.
Yeah. As busy as Casey is, I got to give him credit, man. He's one of the most chill people to work with. As long as you're willing to do like your share of it, most times he'll be like, yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Yeah, it's 100% the way he is. He's just so mellow. He really is.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's kind of break down each design. So I have them here ready to go. So first up, the Rhino and Josh Foles. Can you tell me a little bit about this one? Yeah, Josh.
If I'm remembering correctly, I think Josh was cool with the Rhino from day one. I think he selected it, but it was so many months ago, I might be wrong. But I think, if I'm butchering this, Josh, man, correct me later. I'm sorry. I think Josh was. He does more like the character stuff, like turning these guys with smiles and making them like, more charactery. So this, I think, was a challenge for him, but I don't know why. This looks outstanding. And he came up with the idea with 2 of them locking horns, which is just classic. That's how they go to battle. But then the +1, what was the +1, right? And he came back and was like, hey, I put Mount Kilimanjaro in the background, which is in Africa. I was like, oh shit. So he knocked us out of the park. I mean, the colorway was tweaked by the Clink Room, as they were with all the hats. But this is perfect. I mean, the grays, obviously the animals are gray. Just everything was so good. I think I compared all of the submissions to the finals to see what was changed. And honestly, and Josh can correct me, I think the only thing changed here was I think the Clink Room put that back top left cloud in front of the sun, and Josh had it back. And that was like the only thing that I could with the naked eye see. Josh could probably point out smaller things, but I think that speaks volumes, and it tells you that if they don't really mess with your design too much, then they're loving it. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
It's gorgeous.
I think Mount Kilimanjaro, I think, is one of the highest mountains if you measure them equally. I think like they're all measured from sea level, basically. But if you just take them and all, like just look at the landmass, I think it's like one of the highest mountains.
That's dope. I did not know that.
Yeah. All right. Let's move forward. Jacobo with the hunt. So you mentioned, getting a little too close to.
Jacobo. I pitched I said to the guys, because we were just spitballing so early. I was like, I definitely want one of the. I said a couple of them to have the binocular border for the frame, and I don't know if he didn't like the idea or if he wanted to get the binoculars in there in some capacity. When I saw this, I was like, oh, this is so smart. But that was his plus one. Just like this is your warning. You know what I mean? Like you are too close as a tourist. It made me feel like me on the back of that Jeep. Like everyone got the binoculars, everyone's looking, and the driver's just like, we're gonna get right over here, but no closer. I think I'm trying to remember the differences too between. The differences were very minimal here as well. I think the original color of the strap was a darker color. And Casey probably had them change it to brown so it would pop more, the strap of the binoculars. And I think the leopard was a different color too, but it was nothing crazy. And I think maybe the tail on this guy was inside the border of the sun. I don't think it was exiting. Casey loves, for anyone listening, Casey loves when he's exiting a frame. He's a big fan of that, I've noticed over the years. So I think the tail at one point was not, and they maybe bumped it out. And they also, I think the leopard was further to the right, and they kind of centered him more. But again, another design where they didn't tweak it too much. And the burnt oranges, the burnt colors in this it just makes sense. It's just so pretty. It really is. And that face, look at that face, man. He's fucking pissed.
Yeah, and Casey loves like a little bit. He's not scared of having a little bit of negative space where he needs to put it, stuff like that. Nope. So, this one's awesome. That rusted black with a grander, cannot go wrong with this colorway. Kind of shares a similar like orangey, like yellowish kind of vibe to the first one.
100%.
All right, number 3, we got Milos, and you brought this up, so
I love it. This is so badass. This is another one where I'm like, Casey didn't really fuck with this. It took me a minute, and I remember looking at it, and I think the tail either was just a tip of the tail was exiting that circle. And Casey made like the whole poof, if you will, on the end of that tail exit the circle. Other than that, man, this really wasn't touched. I mean, it just looks like hot and like smoky. Like everything he was trying to do, he did. And making his skin break up like that, like he's part of the volcano, to my point, it's like that reserve is on top of a volcano, and it comes together and it makes you feel like that. This is just that mane is incredible too. This is a gorgeous design. It's gonna do so well.
As we're doing now with the kind of almost tonal outline, and then kind of using other elements to break that outline too.
Yes.
Just like a little kind of trick.
People, for anybody watching who's submitting, man, pay attention to the nuance, the small stuff. Casey says that all the time too. You'll see what works. Even if it's just not just a theme necessarily, just the way they design these designs is stuff that really turns Casey and the Clink Room on. They just love stuff like this.
For sure. All right, moving forward, we got Marinate by Ryan Simmons.
It's funny. I've shown these all to my mother and my brother and my girl, and this is those 3 at least. I'm sure there's many more people out there, but those 3 at least all gravitate towards this one, which surprises me only because animal-wise, like I like the badass animals, the lions, the leopards, etc. This is the most chill, and I shouldn't say non-aggressive animal, because I'm sure it can kick your ass, but it's like it's like just a chill animal. It's sitting in water, for God's sake. Its name is Marinate. So, but like it's what he does with lighting, Ryan, is not normal. Like that's another thing. If people are submitting, like, pay attention to Ryan Simmons when it comes to lighting. Everyone comments on how he lights. This is like wild. I mean, this is gorgeous. The way the back is lit like that, and this is another one. Yet another one where they didn't change much. I think the only thing I noticed was where his brows are touching. The shadowing where his brows are touching was separate before. And I think the only other thing I noticed was that it's not a bird on its head. What is that thing called? I knew and then I forgot. That thing on its head. You know how they eat the fleas and shit off of them?
Yeah.
That guy. That's the plus one, by the way. That But that and the water as well, because they kind of camouflage themselves in water. But that bird on top was I think he had eyes and maybe a bit of a smile, and that was just taken away for detail purposes, obviously for embroidery. But other than that, this is gonna in hand. I couldn't be more excited to see what this looks like in hand with this lighting. It's nuts.
Yeah, just that kind of monochromatic look of the the main object, and then the bright kind of contrasting color of the orange, blue orange, contrasting colors too. It's
nuts. I never worked with Ryan. This is the first time, and I was amped to see that he was even interested to work with me. So this was a huge win for me to get him. I've wanted to for a while, so this is really fun.
Yeah, his background in animation, I think he was like kind of taught from an early animator that like every cell of an animation has to look picturesque. So like this stuff
this is light lift for him. Yeah, that's the thing too, man. Leon, I've talked to so many designers. Dopest Robot is one of them. I know you know her. She had problems with it at the beginning too. She told me, and so have other people. She's just the first that comes to mind. Where it's like, when you're an artist, like, you can design hats for the Clink Room, but if you don't dumb down your skill level, it sounds so weird to say, you're gonna not have success in the Clink Room, because they're used to being detailed and all this stuff. And the more detailed you get for a hat, the more likely it's not going to go through, because embroidery can only do so much. You know what I mean? So I remember she had mentioned to me that she had struggled early on, like her stuff was not getting through, because I noticed her stuff. And I'm like, this is so crazy. How did that not get picked? And she's like, it's just too detailed. And I was like, you know what, you're right. So she's improved over the years, but I think that actually drove her a little nuts at the beginning. That's probably why she didn't submit for a while, because it's really hard for some people to dumb down what they've been trained to do for their entire lives. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. I think like also you have to kind of study kind of how the embroidery comes out, even if you don't own them, like just get the pictures or go to like a Lids or whatever, just kind of see what is possible, because a lot of people, like you mentioned, they come over from other mediums, whether it's t-shirts, stickers, pins, whatever. All the application is completely different. So,
night and day. Yeah.
All right, moving forward, we got Protect by Mr. Patrick Flanagan.
This is great. Patrick, he was the first to take my, and thank you to him, to take the binoculars and really, because this is exactly what I pictured. That was the only +1 I could think about at the time. It was just, we were all struggling for a +1, and he took the +1 and he just killed it. Originally, and he'll tell you this, his design were the elephants moving from left to right. They were walking. They were not coming out of the frame. So the Clink Room tweaked and made some changes, but it was the big, let's call it the mama elephant, walking, and the right binocular, our right, and behind it following was the baby, the calf, holding onto its tail. And then Casey wanted it coming out, obviously, and hence the term Protect. So there was tweaks made there. The elephant's the same. It was just their composition and the way they were set up was changed. But this is nuts. This is so cool. I'm interested to see how this comes out. Hopefully that glare works out and it comes across as a glare when it's embroidered. But this is great. It's just like, people look in their binoculars, they don't realize how close something is sometimes, and that's kind of what this is. It's like, oh, you've gotten too close again. So this is great, man. This is really a beautiful hat. I love this one.
This reminds me of the scene of like Jumanji, and they're all like,
exactly. That's a really good point. Yeah, this is a great hat. It's gonna be so pretty.
All right, and then last but not least, we got the collector. So the big
Raphael. Like I said, Raphael grabbed the short straw, and he just joined the chat too late. That's what happens on the different time zones, right? So he finally checked his messages, and everyone had scooped up an animal at that point, and he's like, "Oh, I guess I'm doing all 5 animals." So he obviously, his first language is not English, but he's great with communicating in English. He's great. He 99% of the time he gets what I'm saying. So I was like, hey, I know this is challenging, but I messaged Casey, and as I mentioned earlier, he's cool with a silhouette. It'll be a lot easier. I mean, otherwise it's gonna be too muddy to get. How do you get 5 animals in there? And I remember vividly, he's like, okay, that makes sense. And then he came back with this. I'm like, did it make sense? Or were you just like, fuck this, let me try it? I think it was the fuck this, let me try it thing. And he nailed it. Cause I saw it. I was like, whoa. Like, cause I didn't know how he was going to do it. And I showed Casey it, and Casey immediately, like I said, it was just like thumbs up, boom. And I was like, wow, you completely quelled any concerns about embroidering 5 animals. He did it. Like, it was really, really challenging, but he made it look so easy because he came back with this done so fast. And this is another one where if I held up the OG to you, I think the buffalo on the top right was showing a little more legs vertically. The elephant was pushed back a little left, and less of the trunk was exiting the circle. And now there's more. And the colors changed pretty dramatically on this one. But the design itself, they didn't really do much to it, man. Casey really let these guys fly in this stuff, and the tweaks were so minimal. And this is just a beautiful design. I think this is going to be one of the better selling ones. I think because everyone wants. If anyone's struggling about like, oh, which animal to buy, this might be people who just get them all right and get this one. Yeah.
Yeah, this is right up his alley too. I mean, he's been drawing animals in circles. Forever.
Oh yeah. I should have said, hey, I want all these 5 in a square and just watch the fucking head blow off his shoulders. But he killed it. He's so good. He's the perfect person for this.
Yeah. All right. Well, anyone who is watching now, so these are available for the next month. Get your pre-orders in, and just hearing the stories and kind of how this kind of came about. This is awesome, man.
Yeah, it's just that our group chat was bumping at all hours of the day. It was crazy.
All right, so now let's get into the last call. So these next 6 hats we'll be covering. Their pre-order ends tonight at midnight. So for those keeping score, these were the top selling hats that delivered for 2024. They all got a recolor, and the top 6, and then they got the Clink Classics badge, which now is kind of known as the badge of honor.
Mm-hmm.
But Neon Chief, Red Cloud, Phantom, and Apocalypse are the first 3 we'll cover. Do you have any initial thoughts on these 3 hats?
Yeah, I'll answer this question as if I'm still very active buying hats, which I told you I'm not. So if I'm right now back at the way I was 2-3 years ago, making mistake after mistake, just buying everything I see, I would buy. And this is no offense to Seamus and Creaturezoid, because that design is just stunning. The original I didn't buy because of the orange, and this one I wouldn't buy because of the green, even though I love the color. I'm waiting for this one to come out in. It probably is not going to have it, but a darker. I like dark colored hats. I know the Clink Room doesn't look. It's not going to release every hat in black. I get it. I don't know. This one I wanted in a darker color, a color that I would wear more so. But the design this is the best one on the page. Sorry, no offense to anybody else. This is one of the best of the year, as I think we all know. Best selling too. But it's just so smart. And sometimes you'll see a pun, and you like, that's incredible, and then you get mad at yourself, like, how the fuck did I?
Why did I think of that?
Yeah, like it just drives me nuts. And that's one of these moments, but respectfully, that's one of these moments.
Yeah.
So I would, if I was still spending recklessly, I would scoop up the Neon Chief and the Phantom. Phantom, I don't love white crown because I know me, and I'll just get it dirty, and it'll drive me nuts. And I slept on the original. So has that one made it back to the shop yet? The OG, the black.
I don't think the dead stock dropped, but
no, I don't think so either. That's what I'm gonna grab. That one. The white's beautiful. Yes. That's when I saw that design at first, I'm like, I don't know about that. And then I saw it in San Diego, and I saw pictures online when people were posting. I'm like, what a dumb mistake that was, me not getting that. It's just fucking smart, man. But I got to say, this side patch looks better on white than any other color. That with the black, all black, that's awesome. I just can't mess with the white crown. So when this hits the shop again in black, I'm all over it. And the Chief is just like, Marlon is just a beast. I mean, his stuff sells as long as it's not stuck in legal. It's going to get into your hands pretty quickly. But this is a beautiful hat, and the colors are great. I even love the red in the classics patch. This is a gorgeous hat. It means something. It's a great design. It is no surprise to me that these 3 hats are classics. Like I said, these are gorgeous. But this is a great drop. Yeah, people should be grabbing all 3 of these, frankly.
Yeah, like Marlon's another one of those kind of OG kind of Clink concept artists, and Creature is like the one that kind of just once he started making the content, and he was always talking shop and talking Clink, and made those predictions, and he's another awesome concept.
He's got like 5 to 10 in the stove at one time, probably, if not more. So many. He reminds me of how I was back in the day. Just like so many people helping me out at once. That's the way it should be. That's the way to get stuff to stick, because if you go one at a time, it's gonna be very slow, and you're gonna be very disappointed. So you got to have many different things going at once.
What's good about him too is like he has no filter. So if you can take it as an artist and
Yeah.
hear his critiques, and
Oh yeah, he doesn't give a shit. I like that actually. He's got a very New York vibe to him, even though I don't believe he's from New York.
I think he's from Florida.
Yeah,
Florida, living in Indy, about to move to Arkansas or something.
Florida, Indy to Arkansas. Interesting.
But yeah, like you, I think the Apocalypse is the top one out of the three here. It's just almost got like this Fallout vibe.
Yeah,
like that little that Pit Boy, that little handheld thing, and it just reminds me of that.
it's so smart, man. It's such a smart design.
Yeah. All right, and then we got Wizard's Work, Cursed Kings, and the Ring of Fire.
So these now, let's see, Sierra, God, Jake. These are all great. If again, Layne buying when Layne is out of control is buying the middle one, the Cursed Kings. That even seeing it embroidered, I was surprised how well it embroidered. That caught me off guard a little bit. And I think you've mentioned this before. A Kelly Green UV. I mean, who can go wrong with a Kelly Green UV?
Yeah.
The sexiest UV on the planet. It's a gorgeous design. That's my favorite out of the pack. And the gold around the classics patch, that's a win. The Sierra hat. I work with Sierra a lot. I love Sierra. I didn't realize how well this was going to embroider until I saw it. That would be my number 2. This thing is really pretty. He busts his ass too. He's always working on something. This is a great hat. This is a glow in the dark. Am I wrong?
The original was. I don't know if this one does.
So
so.
It's just gonna look the way it is now with that blue peeking through the light.
Maybe the edges might glow.
Okay.
Yeah,
man. He's got concepts for days. And then the Wizard's Work. This is not no slight to Jake at all. But this thing sold outrageously well. It's not my style, but who the fuck cares? I don't know what I'm talking about. This sold so well. I see it. I think I've seen Bert Kreischer wearing this hat. Like it's just everywhere. So hats off to him. He killed it, man. He understood the assignment and he knocked it out of the park because this thing sold. And the assignment being like what sells, because this caught people's attention. You know. Well,
it took home the top spot of the year.
Yeah, that's what I thought too. Okay, yeah. Casey was showing me these in hand in San Diego, and I was like, yeah, it's one thing I'm not good at yet, Leon, is like visualizing something when it's going to be done and embroidered in hand. I've made so many mistakes, and I'm sure you have too. But like, I feel like I make more than most. Like I'm like, that's going to look horrible, and then I see it on IG. I'm like, what a dumb mistake. Like now I'm going to spend $15 more or $20 more, getting it in like a few months. Like, so yeah, it's.
I've done it.
Yeah, these all look so good in hand, man. I saw them in person. I was like, whoa, shit.
It's great. Yeah, it's such a good pack. Like you, I think I lean Cursed Kings. That's just the most wearable one.
That color, you're wearing that with almost anything. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Exactly. But Ring of Fire is good. It's like the moment before the eclipse hits. Wizard's Work is part 2 to the #1 bestseller. Almost looks like, Crazy Daddy Smurf, It's like Gandalf Smurf. Yeah. So awesome week, man. It was cool to see everyone kind of get their flowers and get a remix of their best sellers. I think it's a great tradition that Casey started.
I agree.
And especially since like as long as we've been collecting, before he said like, never no restocks, no thing. These aren't restocks, but at least they're the same hat but in a different version. So
exactly.
The original one you're liable to buy. If you missed the first one, you're liable to buy.
Exactly. They're smart. They know what they're doing.
Yeah, exactly. And then the last but not least, we got Clink Kong, Misty. This was Shock Drop Thursday night.
Yes, just a couple of days ago. Yeah. I love that. What is that color? The green, what would you call it? Seafoam green? What is that? What would we call that? I'm not sure. But
I always struggle with kind of teals and
I love the color of that. I really do. I think it's going to do well. I'm not a huge fan of the beer can side patch. I like their other one better. My favorite Clink hat is just the all black or maybe blue. I can't remember. It just says Clink with the white and it had the UV Kelly green. That's mine. Simple. Love that hat. That's my go-to. But this is a good-looking hat. It's going to do well. People love the Clink Kong. But yeah, I personally would like a different side patch. But this is a good-looking hat for sure.
Yeah, I told Casey just do the Fear of God trick and just make the big Clink word mark in every single team color.
Yeah, right. That'd be smart.
Just do it.
That's really smart. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, but I have this one in hand. So this one embroiders. I mean, you know,
Oh yeah.
this one embroiders is so good. But yeah, it's got all those like funky greens to the darkest
Yeah, and
green.
every time you twist that, it seems like the light hits it just a little differently to give it some more depth. That's beautiful.
Yeah,
Yeah, even side patch looks nice actually. That's really smooth too.
yeah,
It
it's not
shines
too
like crazy. Where's the back?
bad.
What is
They
the? Let me
started
see the back. Let me see the back real quick. Yep.
that seafoam color.
Mm-hmm. It's a good looking hat.
But they've used this now. They've started rotating this as a pin now too. So
Oh yeah, that's right. I've seen that. Yeah.
and then
Dope
like
hat,
this
man.
Tiffany blue under. Yeah, beautiful hat.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's it. Oh no, we got to get into the crits. The best part. So
Let's do
now
it.
crits is back. These will all be going into Monday Morning Critz tomorrow. So we'll be starting today's show off with the Jersey legend, Levi and Junker 1244 got together. Are you familiar with the
Yes,
new
the Jersey
Devil?
the Jersey Devil. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. I've heard the
Yeah.
legend.
Yeah.
The hockey team's named after him, obviously.
Yep.
So yeah, this is cool. I actually think this is going to do really well. I like the color. That crown is off white, right? That's not white, unless
Like
I'm
stone.
mistaken.
Looks like
Oh,
stone.
So yeah, I think this is a perfect color choice for this hat. I think the the devil is going to pop off. It does pop off it beautifully, but I love the detail, and it's all achievable. Unless I'm mistaken, I feel like that's all achievable in embroidery. This is a really cool design, man, and it's actually one of those ones I kick myself for not having thought of, right? Because I mean, it's not like it's saying New Jersey Devils. It's not. It's not
No.
fighting anything, right? It's Jersey. It's a legend. It's folklore. So this
Yeah.
is going to do well. I could actually see this one going through. Frankly, I really believe it.
Yeah, for the people who like it, I think it's called cryptozoology.
Mhm.
This is awesome. My one little tiny critique is I think like the right wing, the other side wing, you just need to show it a little bit better. But other than that,
Yeah, you're good at this stuff. I've watched the show. You see stuff that I never see. That's a good point. That's a good point.
yeah.
This is a good looking design, though. I really like it.
Oh yeah, I love it. I love the balance.
Wonder if they just kind of from scratch created this creature, or they just pulled up some folklore images and kind of tweaked some stuff to make it their own. I'm wondering. I gotta ask them actually. I'm really curious. This is really kind of menacing looking thing. It's cool.
Yeah, it's so sick. And then the smaller two guy probably make the arm that's closer to the camera.
Yeah.
Or like closer to our view, make that one slightly bigger than the back one.
Oh, you're right. It's closer to us. That's a good point too. Yeah, you
But
got
other
nine.
than that, this thing's. I mean, I
Badass.
hope it blows well. The only problem is that sometimes people don't like wearing like the demonic stuff. Sometimes.
Yeah, that's a good point too. I'm sure Casey and them have a list of things that they struggle with. Maybe even just not even with sales, but also legally. So who knows?
Yeah. But this thing's so awesome.
It's gorgeous. Yeah, really is.
Forward number 2, we got the Winter Blues Flanagan.
This is good. Patrick always. Well, first off, he's ridiculously talented. The stuff he's done with me is great. We have one kind in the wings for a while now. I'm hoping to see soon, but this is great. Bird hats do well. I think we all know that. I don't own many of them, but there's dozens in the Clink Room, and they all seem to do quite well. This is my only critique would be, and this is Patrick's style, so it's not call it a critique or just call it his style. I don't know, it's up to you. But like, I think sometimes the logos initially are too big. I don't think this is huge. Don't get me wrong, but I think this can go down 10%, and it might help a little bit. Some of his designs are obviously a lot bigger than this, and I have also thought to myself it's a little too big. But I guess if that's my number one complaint, and not the design itself, he's doing something right. And this is good looking. Maybe he could have added some texture to the snow on the branches. Instead of it just being solid white, maybe just a little gray to show some texture and show some depth. Other than that, he's a talented dude. This is good looking. I like it.
Yeah, he loves his like blues and kind of hot pinks.
Yeah,
that color. You can
For
see
sure.
him kind of playing with his style a little bit too, where not everything's outlined in black. You see, like the important parts, like the bird and the branch.
Yeah.
But none of the snow's outlined. None of the berries are kind of outlined.
That's a good point too. Yeah, the bird and the branch.
Yeah, it's interesting.
It's a good looking design.
You can see them kind of just like all the artists kind of evolving too. The more they kind of watch shows like these or Monday Critz and kind of just try on different
taking the
trips.
notes. Yeah, for sure.
Awesome.
Yeah, he was. I think it must have been a year ago, 6 months ago. I don't even know when it was. He messaged me. He was just like, "We're going over a design we're working on." He was just like, "I'm about to start really focusing harder on this," and I can tell you, he's had a lot more stuff submitted since that conversation, and his quality is just like getting better and better. It's a really good looking design.
He's always down to work. That's what's awesome about
Mm-hmm.
it. We had a couple that got eaten up by legal, unfortunately. But
It's so you just assume you're good at that point, and then you're not.
Yeah.
I've had 2 that had that issue.
Yeah. All right. Moving forward. Oops. Camo by Rafael.
You skimmed right by it. I knew who it was before you even stopped. So this is, what's the theme here? Camo.
I guess just like a artsy.
Got the abstract thing going.
Yeah.
I mean, I love his stuff. He's obsessed with animals, which I love. I don't know. I get what he's doing. I think he loses. I'm not saying he's going for symmetry, but I think losing that piece on the right. I'm sure there's a reason it's there. My right or your right. That square looking piece, kind of near the mouth and up near the ear. I think losing that and creating more symmetry with this design and just making things totally symmetric might actually get him further than what he's doing. But the design's great. I could actually see this embroidering very well, but I'm sure there's a reason why things are juxtaposed like that. But for me, I would be more interested in this hat if it was perfectly symmetrical on both sides. You know what I mean? Aside from the colors, obviously.
Yeah, it's like a mix of like almost like a natural style. Are you familiar with the artist Naturel? He draws in only triangles.
Okay. So every single aspect is triangle and triangle. Yeah.
Yeah, and then mixed with that guy. Fuck, I forget his name, but he's like I think he's a Russian artist. He draws the arrows, but everything's like super bright, and it's kind of like those two mishmashed. Yeah. I mean, the Rafael he just loves like the big cats, the panthers, and
he's the cat man. He's that.
Yeah.
He's like Tiger King, except with like and whatnot.
Exactly. Yeah. So he's just trying to find different ways to do it, and
I gotta say, you could tell he put time into this. This isn't some quick thing he just sketched up. This is like elaborate, and it's really well done in that regard. For me, I just require more symmetry, but this is dope.
Yeah, awesome. All right, number 4, Glass Wolves. Levi.
This is the type of thing that's gonna. Is this Levi and Junker again? Were they on number 1 or number 2? Okay. Yeah. All right, so they're teaming up here. This is this would embroider very well in my opinion. I mean, I don't know if you disagree or not, but this is something I can see. I'm trying to think what in the past looks like this as far as the style, but this is kind of great. Obviously, it's the glass. They're going for the glass look. And I think they've achieved it. I think this is kind of great. This is kind of like the whole. I'm not saying this is a simple design. I don't mean this, but like this is kind of like what I meant earlier when I was like, you can't get so detailed and finite in things because it's going to get lost in embroidery. This would embroider quite well in my opinion. What do you think?
Yeah, I think so too. I think I heard Donovan say that Junker actually does make stained glass. So this would be like accurate to how someone would make a stained glass piece. Kind of reminds me a little bit of like a hard enamel pin too, kind of how they hold in the colors by using like kind of metal.
Yeah.
Hold in the color of it. But
so if he does make glass for real, he needs this hat to go through. How dope would that be to be making glass wearing this hat? That'd be so sick. Oh, yeah. That's one of those personal things, you just want it to go through personally. But this is good looking. It's going to embroider. I mean, come on.
And red and black, any sports fan loves.
Can't go wrong.
Yeah,
can't go wrong.
Yeah, yep. This one a lot. Almost shaped like a heart too. It's cool.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. All right. Hope by Flanagan and Red Shot. So I'm not familiar with Red Shot, but Flanagan has one. I believe it's called Peace. That's already in the shop.
That's very recent. Yeah, it's in there now. You're right.
Yeah.
So I think that might potentially hurt them, right? But it also made the shop, so maybe it's helping them. I don't know how like gung ho people are for Asian influence stuff, but the one that's in the shop now is beautiful. This one's great too. I always, whenever I see this much detail, I wonder how it would embroider, but I've been very wrong before. It's a really good looking hat. I mean, look at that scene. It's got depth all the way into the mountains back there. I would say my only suggestion, and it's very small, would be the thick border, the thick black border could be 50% at least cut down. I don't think it's necessary to go that thick, especially with all the black and design itself. Other than that, it's an attractive scene, man. I love scene work. I know a lot of people don't like it, and I also know it's gonna be harder to get through. But if the Clink Room thinks it can embroider, then it has a very, very strong chance. This is a really sick scene. What do you think?
Yeah. I don't really like the scenescapes, but I can appreciate the art and the work it's done. It's cool. He's kind of like taking like the normal kind of scenescapes and kind of adding, so like people would add the silhouette, and now it's the scene and the silhouette. Now he's adding like a strong, character in the forefront, and cool architecture in the back. So there's a lot of cool elements to it. I don't know if the colorway makes a ton of sense. It's kind of got this like Miami Vice.
It's very South Beach.
Night. Yeah. Colorway.
I could see. I could very, very well be wrong. I could see if they did go through. I could see Casey and them removing maybe the tree branch or something. I know that's where the flowers are coming off. Don't get me wrong. But something to make it a little less detailed. Again, the hardest, as that any artist's most difficult challenge is removing detail. But it's a lot right now. If it can embroider, awesome. I don't know if it would, but that's the Clink Room. But this is a kind of dope design.
The hard part is to now, like something's working for them. It voted really well. It got into the shop. You almost don't want something like this to compete against the thing that's in the shop already. So like the timing of it, it's not the best, but I mean it's still an amazing.
I could also see a world where, to your point, if Casey did like it and the Clink Room did like it, this week comes and goes. We never see it again this week or next week, and we forget about it. And all of a sudden, a year from now, there it is. I think that happened with one of Wins for Wins Week last week. There was some stuff there, or at least one of them, where it was like, oh, I thought we saw this last year, and you thought it didn't make it, but it did the whole time. I could see that being the case, to your point, because you don't want to have two of the similar ones in the shop at the same time. So, because actually, on a Flanagan note, the pause one that you mentioned earlier, the dog one, I've had one waiting for almost a year with Jay Matz. Not like the paw. It's different, but it's a dog theme. And Casey had told me, he's like, hey, we're gonna hold off on that a bit because Patrick's got this one in the shop now. I want to give it some time to breathe. So I was like, oh, that makes sense. So yeah, they don't like the bookend stuff, and they also don't like to have overlapping things that are similar at the same time as well. To your point.
Yeah, and I think that pause colorway is really similar to this. He loves these like
pastels. Yeah.
Yep. And they sell well. They vote well too. So
he's a Florida guy, right? So he likes his pastels. Yeah.
He's from all over though. I think
that's true.
In Colorado and
that's true. You're right. He posts a lot of Broncos stuff. He's a Broncos fan. That's a good point. Yeah, he bounces around.
But then he reps Florida too. He's all over the place. I think he's near Ohio now.
You're right. I think you're right as well. That's right, because I filled out forms on our behalf, and you're right. I think he's Ohio. Yeah.
I was in Pittsburgh randomly, and somebody's like, "Help me and tell me." I'm like, dude,
I don't even know where you are. Yeah.
Yeah.
Every week
you talk to me about Florida sports and sometimes Colorado sports. And,
exactly.
I'm supposed to remember if I'm in Pittsburgh. Seamus, Thunderstruck. What do you think of this one?
I think it's a good concept. I worry that there's so much going on with the strike of the thunder. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, also, wouldn't it be struck by lightning, not thunder? But regardless, that's not the point. Looking at I think is a lot of lines going around the outline, and of course you have to show, that the bird is being struck by lightning. I just think it could be less. Do you know what I mean? I think if that embroidered, it would be too much on top of itself there. But yeah, I would thin it out and remove some of that detail in the strike itself, the lightning strike itself, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think the image is cool. I think it's done nice, but it might be just lacking like a +1, like a Y, or maybe we're just not seeing the story behind.
Yeah, that's another thing too. I always wish that in the crits there was a quick little second slide with a quick couple sentences explaining, because sometimes that can go a long way. I was talking to Creature about that like over a year and a half ago. He's like, he was suggesting like, why doesn't the crits just have a description? And it's a good point, because sometimes you can't look at something and have any idea what the story is. You're just going off visual, and of course that's what most people are buying a hat for. I get that.
Yeah.
But sometimes it could really sway someone's perspective on something if they knew what the backstory was.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Like visually, it looks cool. It's just part of it is like, yeah, what the heck are we looking at?
Yeah, it's a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Moving forward. Fossil fuel. Jake Smith got together with Milos. This
Right.
one's awesome. It reminds me
it's Milos, man. That's so dope. I'm gonna embarrass myself. Yes, that's very similar to that. This is a stegosaurus. I'm embarrassing myself. What is it?
Triceratops.
Yeah, sorry. Okay. And I've for a long time wondered why a triceratops was not in the Clink Room. This is nuts though. Fossil fuel, that's a great play on word. That's a good pun. Again, another one of these where I'm a little annoyed that I didn't come up with it myself. But yeah, it's got what was the one called you just showed me? What was that called? Do you remember? I can't remember.
I don't even remember, but
who's the superhero? Not superhero.
It's
Nicolas Cage. Yeah, is that Nicolas Cage played that or no?
Yeah,
that?
You played that.
That's what it reminds me of a little bit. But this is great, man. The symmetry is great. I like symmetry. I'm not gonna lie to you.
I feel like this is like the third one to go with these two.
Yeah, the one on your left hand is most similar to. This is gonna embroider really well. Milos does his stuff, gets through the Clink Room pretty often. I think this is gonna have a really good chance. This is a very good looking hat. I like it a lot.
We haven't seen a Triceratops since early Clink 1.
So there was one.
1.0 though. 1.0.
Oh, forget it. That's back in the day. And
that's prehistory.
Yeah, right. But my personal, I'm very boring with my colors, man. It's dark, so it can match anything. And I know that's again not what the Clink Room does, but in a perfect world to me, this is as a different orange UVs, yellow UVs, lime green UVs. I absolutely personally hate. I know the Clink Room doesn't care, but I'm not a fan of those. But with this all being black, other than that, this could probably pull off that UV color. This is a good looking hat.
Yeah, for sure. I think Casey mentioned black always votes the best, sells the best, but him personally, I think
he does not. Yeah, he does not want to have a website filled with black hats. I get that, but at the end of the day, you know, people like me are like, I can wear that with any outfit. You know what I mean? Stuff like that.
Yeah, to me, the black is like the staple color, and then you get to do any other color you want.
100%.
All right, wetlands.
Oh my God, Raphael's back.
The Huron.
We got a bird and we got a circle. This is a good looking hat though. It's a good looking design. I mean,
it's almost like a hand call out too with the sun there, almost like the Japanese flag.
It's funny, that hair on the top of the bald spot gives a bit of a George Costanza Seinfeld look. I'm probably dating myself with that reference, but looks like George Costanza. But this is a good looking design. I mean, the background's nice. Got the sun behind it, the reflection off of the water. This is good, man. The only thing I worry about for this particular design is that is the bird cool enough that people would want this bird to wear around, right?
Yeah.
That's the only thing. I mean, this is a pelican of some sort. No, it's probably not.
It's a blue heron. It looks like
blue herring. Yeah. I think the only question is this fall under Casey's cool umbrella? The design is outstanding. I think this would look so good if it got through and it were actually made. But the question is the bird cool enough? But that's up to the people to decide.
There's one famous picture of a blue herring, and he's flying in the air, and he's just eaten an eel, and the eel has bit a hole in his
What? That's disgusting. Oh my God.
Falling out of him.
I will absolutely be Googling that after this. That is disgusting. Holy shit. I thought you were gonna say, oh, it was wrapped around his neck, kind of like the hat herring.
He ate it and it escaped his stomach, one of his stomachs or whatever.
What a regrettable decision.
Because he could pause. He could swallow crazy. I think the skin flaps is really thin, I guess.
Yeah, so just burst through.
It bit its way through. There's a hole in this area, and the eel is falling out while he's flying. It's crazy.
Dude, and the beauty of this is the eel, as long as it landed over water, just saved itself. How crazy is that? Holy shit.
But to the photographer who caught that moment, man.
Oh, forget about it. That's a National Geographic Award right there. Yeah. If it's not fake.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Number 9, Fleeced. Another take on the wolf in sheep's clothing, which I like.
Who is this guy? Dane Danner. I don't know if I've seen him before. Or her.
Dane Danner.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm familiar with that work. Wolf in sheep's clothing. I think it's been. We know it's been done. Yeah.
Yeah, Shams.
Yep. I think that is a strike against him in the sense that it's been done. And yes, Casey said a million times you can do the same concepts over as long as they're unique.
Yeah, I mean that's one of like top fables is like most popular stories, right?
Yeah, I don't know. I can go either way on this one. I don't know that I love it, and that's no offenses to Dane. I think I don't know. I wonder if I guess there's no way of really conveying this if it's coming directly at you, right? Because you need to see the wool coming off of the body. So I'm sure he or she went back and forth with that as well themselves. I don't hate it. I definitely don't hate it. Not much character to the face. It's not. I'm not saying it needs to have a huge smile or anything, but it looks kind of dead to me. But yeah, it's good. It's just I think it might need a little rework. And I think the voting might suggest that too, depending on what the suggestions are as far as reworking it. You know, percentage wise.
Like he's like a like a West Coast San Diego surfer.
Okay.
Guy. I almost feel like this is almost too simple.
That's what I'm kind of saying. Like the face doesn't the face needs to work. I think this is not bad. Just to be clear, this is not bad.
It's almost like a Banksy stencil type art, which is cool. But I feel like if you're gonna tackle this and it's been just done,
yes, that's what I was about to say.
Right, with 40, if you're gonna take it on and do it, you gotta like beat it. You know, you got to
correct. Yeah, there's no way that the Clink Room would regress from the pre-existing concepts that are already in the room. Would have to knock it out of the park for sure. I don't know if this one does it yet, but I also don't think he should give up. This is kind of cool, a cool first start. I understand what he's going for. Obviously, so do you. I think it's hard to achieve this in the design, honestly.
Yeah, and I think with stuff like this too, it's easy to want to do the full body. But sometimes for the hat, you're just better off doing either 3/4 pose or just the face.
Body. That's a really good point for people doing this too. Like it's hard to get a full body on something. It very often ends up being a bust when it's like a bust, literally, like when it's all said and done. You know what I mean? Like chest up. Yeah.
Yeah, because you end up just shrinking the face to like this big. Like how much you really put into it, right?
I agree. Yeah.
Right. So all right, Dane Danner. Good to see him.
Yeah. Hopefully we see more. This is great. Okay. I was actually waiting for this. This Flanagan, if you're listening, this might break my streak of not buying a hat for a while. I have no connection to this at all. I don't live in the fucking beach, but this is great. This looks like a Disney character almost in a very complimentary way. Like,
yeah.
Everything's great here. I mean, I don't know. This is very, very specific for a very specific type of person. I hope that doesn't hurt him rather. I would buy this hat. I would. And I know I don't like my light color crowns, but it's not white. It's I don't know, that the face and the drink is just really funny to me, and this is probably his best work in a long time in my opinion, but maybe that's just me.
Yeah, it's almost got that like Miami Dolphin teal. It's probably got some tie back to his Cuban roots with the drink. I'm sure there's a lot to it, but
to your point earlier, it's got that beach vibe. It's like it feels like a Patrick Flanagan. I didn't need to see the name to know it was Patrick Flanagan.
Yeah, you know,
this is great. I really like this. I'm wondering if this is me nitpicking, and I actually don't really have a problem with this, but I'm wondering, how does his claws look on that stick to you? Does it look right and accurate? Should there be maybe a nail bed?
Yeah, it looks a little weird, especially with 2 claws. I don't know if that's how many toes they have. I'm not sure, but yeah.
Yeah, this is, again, nitpicking, just looking for something to look for something. This is awesome. I kind of want this hat.
Yeah,
I'll be voting for it.
You can see how too he's becoming more comfortable with himself. So instead of like adding another color, he's using negative space or negative coloration to just kind of use. So like the almost like skin break here and here.
Yeah, good eye.
So he's like saving a color by just using negative space there. So
I love the ice cube. That's an ice cube in there, right? Oh my god.
Yeah, ice cube in the straw with the line.
Yeah. This is great, man. I love this character. It looks like a very like approachable character. You know what I mean? It's a fun, happy character. This is great.
Yeah,
one of his best.
All right. Number 11, Gym Rats.
I've not seen this one.
I believe this is a collaboration with Heather. So she's submitting with her friend Biolicious, I believe.
So she designed it, or do you know?
I think it's like a collab, but she did the art for it, I think.
Is wasn't there other gym rats in the past, or was that something that didn't make it? It was like a basketball playing rat, maybe, unless I'm mistaken.
I think Brad Racing did gym rats a long time ago.
And if I'm not mistaken, it was somebody hooping. It was a hooping rat who was playing basketball.
Let me look it up. So Gym Rat, Racing, and Taxican did it a long time ago. Yeah, but he's playing basketball.
Yeah, I knew it.
12. I mean, 2022.
Oh, I was gonna say, good lord, that was 1.0. I like this, man. I like lighting on it. I don't know why, and this is not a criticism because I like this. Behind him, I love the blue. And the lines, the horizontal lines in there, makes it feel like it's. I don't know. He's just in front of a window at a gym, and the blinds are there. I really like that. The pink completely pops. Only suggestion is maybe go lighter between the legs and the thighs to create that spacing between the legs, but that's not even really a criticism. This is cool, man. This is a lot of dudes who lift and women who lift I could see them rocking this hat, man, in the gym. This is fun. I mean, that fucking rat's jacked, by the way. This is a dope design. I really like this.
You almost don't need the bottom of the feet. You could just have the beginning of his legs, you know, and
absolutely.
just kind of standing in front of that, whatever, almost Kanye glass shades.
Yeah. Yeah, it's exactly what that looks like. This is fun, man. This made me smile. I would hope this would get through, but I don't know. I've been surprised before.
Yeah,
that's my vote.
My thing is, if you're gonna kind of humanize him, I would go the whole way. Maybe give him like a headband or something. Just make it a little bit more comical.
Yep. Right, I know what you're saying. Because his face right now looks like an absolute rat, right? And then you hit the body, you're like, all right, dude looks like The Rock.
Yeah,
so, that's and even this sounds like stupid too, but you can even make that tooth yellow. I don't know many rats with white teeth.
Yeah, exactly.
This is great. I like this.
But yeah, cool piece. All right, and Biolicious. Number 12. No more Mr. Nice Guy. Elite pun, sorry. Sierra and Josh Wolves got together.
I love these guys, man. I have nothing bad to say about them. This is great. I hope it would not have trouble embroidering with all the detail in the face and the arms and all that other stuff, but I'm sure it would. Yeah, I don't think so. The only other thing, I've mentioned this. Well, what do you think the yellow is at the bottom there?
Oh, that's piss. Dog piss, 100%.
Snow more, Mr. Do you think so? Because that's fucking hysterical if it is.
I'm pretty sure it's dog piss.
Oh man, this gets better every time I look.
Yeah, right. I think I like that it's there.
Yeah, now I do. At first, I was like, that's supposed to be like a sun bouncing off it, but no, he got pissed on, and it looks like he's about to tip over because it pissed it so much it melted it, and now it's tipping over.
Yeah, that's why he's pissed.
This is fucking great. The only thing Josh's work, I've worked with Josh so many times, and I have nothing bad to say about Josh. My only suggestion would be, and I feel like no one agrees with me when I say this. I feel like so many Clink submissions have outlines around it that sometimes aren't necessary. Like, is the blue around the entire thing necessary? Because I sometimes think it takes away from the quality of a design, and this is a very high quality design. What if we lost the light blue around the entire design? Like, would that hurt this design? I don't think it would, but that's me. What's your opinion on that? Because it seems like it's a staple in the Clink Room now to always have a bright color outlining something. And I'm more of a simplified person where I don't think it's necessary. This is an example of how I don't think it's necessary. And I think Josh puts that around his work sometimes, and his work is so good and it takes away from it. Yeah. But again, other people are doing it too. What do you think?
I would love to see it just to see how it would be if you just get rid of the blue outline, do a tonal outline to make it white. You can still have that kind of like a see-through outline, and then I would just switch the under visor selfishly to green.
Yeah, of course. And, always the answer.
And
so fun.
This is another thing too that kind of is a limitation on Clink is most times they're going to limit you to 6 colors. So I don't love that the P color is the same color as the carrot. I know that I understand why he did it because
you had no choice. Well, is it though? Look closely. Is it? It looks more orange the nose to me than the piss does, but I could just be far away and I'm messing it up.
They look the same color.
Yeah, they probably wouldn't go a different color if they were that close in the family anyway. But you're right. The 6 limitation is a headache, man. The doors that 7 could open up, I couldn't even express.
Even 9, you know.
Oh my God! If there were no limitations, these hats would be outrageous. But yeah,
Yeah.
it's very stressful to make those sometimes. With the
Yeah,
little
because like
paste on color.
even the branches share the same color as the handle of the shovel.
Yes, exactly, and of course that's something they went back and forth on. They were struggling, and I get it.
Yeah, but maybe figure out to work the orange maybe into the scarf, and then that way you can kind of use it again for the nose. I don't know. This reminds me of the scene of the old guy in Home Alone 1 when he whacks Joe Pesci with the shovel, like the old dude.
Yes, yeah, that's a good point. I
Yeah,
actually I like the panels too. By the way, I just noticed the panels, black and white, works for this. I usually don't like that, but this works for this particular
yeah,
hat.
yeah, totally. But this is, I mean, if this doesn't get through.
I mean, it's gonna be a little frustrating, won't it be? Yeah, it really has to.
And
It's really
what's
fun.
cool about this is like it's kind of a Christmas hat, but you could wear this all winter. It wouldn't
Yeah,
matter.
please.
Yeah,
Absolutely. I agree. It's not, no, it's not, absolutely not just a Christmas hat. As long as there's snow on the ground, you're good.
yeah, exactly. All right. Number 13, revealed.
Raphael.
Raphael again.
Raphael's busy.
Yeah.
This is
He's
kind of
busy.
dope. I'm trying to
Yeah.
think what this has the feeling of
Austin.
the artificial intelligence. Is that the one? Remember that from
Yep.
back in the day? It feels
Austin.
like it's that, and then there's the other alien face that was similar to this back in the day, right? But it feels like they combined into one.
Yeah. If you were to cover the name, I would have assumed this was Austin.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. I would lose. I like the design. I like it. I would lose the stars.
I don't know if
It's
it
not,
needs the stars at all. Yeah.
yeah, it's not. We get it. It's out of space. It's not necessary. To simplify, I would lose that. I like it though. It's got the symmetry. It's kind of cool. And people, we know that people love extraterrestrial stuff, right? There's no shortage of that in the Clink Room. People love it. This is cool. I really do like it. I think people will like this. I have a feeling.
Yeah, and then seeing this just shows his range. Like, hey, you don't need
Hey,
to
that's
stick
not an animal. Hey,
circle
exactly.
with animals. Yeah. This
Yeah,
is good to see him kind of step out
I
and
agree.
do
This is
something
cool.
different. Yeah, this is rad. All right. Good job, Rafael. Number 4, this is a recolor resubmission, I believe. Pecora Bulls. I believe Peru. This is one of like their national toys, or not toys, but you know what I mean, like kind of like their symbols.
Yeah,
For Peru, I believe, and then they added the soccer element.
this
With
is
Soundwave and Fitted Chef.
kind of cool. I'm not gonna lie to you. I love the colors of the bowl. That's catching me. It reminds me of the what license plate has these colors? Is it New Mexico?
I'm not sure. I'm Canadian, so
So it doesn't. I mean, you can still see other license plates. Hold on a second. New Mexico license plate.
and these are called
Yeah,
Pecora.
it's New Mexico. Yeah, it's got those similar colors. I love the color selection here. I really do. I think this would actually look really good. I know that this is referencing soccer, but I also don't know if the soccer ball is necessary. I know that kind of sounds probably stupid to them if they listen to this. But you kind of, I think it just adds a little too much to the design with the ball. But if I'm not reading what this is about, right? Like another example of why it would be great to have a quick paragraph of
Yeah,
what this one's about. But I love it. I love that bowl. I really do enjoy it. They did a good job on this.
I remember it being something like he loves soccer, and this is the scorpion kick. So basically, the goalie would be so cocky, instead of just catching it, he would let the ball go behind him, and he would just
And then kick it out. That's cocky as hell.
yeah.
You got to know the exact speed of that ball coming at you. All right, then that makes sense. That makes more sense. But still, for me, I would like it without the soccer ball, and only because I'm not a soccer or football fan. I respect the sport, but I'm one of these boring people from the States who think, just watch NFL all day long. So, it's a good looking hat for sure. It's a good looking design. I like the colors. I'm actually really curious to see how this goes, especially being that soccer centric. It's the number one sport in the world, but I don't know how much Clinkers will like soccer, so we'll see.
So my thing is I love that it's teaching you about another piece of culture and kind of another sport that's not necessarily super popular here, but I worry that it's a little too narrow and it won't vote well. That's the issue.
I have the same concerns. Yeah, but I do like the design. I also love how they made it look like it's glistening. Good job with the white there added to make it look like it's shiny, and it's a good looking design. I just, like you said, I don't know it's gonna fall under the category of what Clink customers would vote for. I hope it does.
Yeah. All right. Number 15, the portrait. So Milos kind of jumping into the pet
Right? Yeah, the pet world. Hey, we
Um,
talked about it earlier, man. People love it.
Yeah.
People love their dogs and they love their cats and their other animals. Portrait.
So
I
his
like it.
original one was a square frame. I put it out that I think it's very hard to embroider super straight edges.
Mhm.
So try doing a circle, and here he's back. With his frame,
Well,
so.
also I think that the circle probably gives it more of a timey feel too. Makes it feel like it's back in a period piece. No, it's good. It's good. It's a good question. I think it's definitely. I could see it on the hat. The question is, will it resonate with dog lovers and pet lovers enough to go through? But I mean, 90% of what he does. So he's already got that going for him.
Yeah, it'd be cool to see him recolor this too, to keep this exact same colorway, but maybe just color the face, just to give it.
Oh, that's a good point. That's a good, and keep everything else black and white. You mean?
Yeah. But
Yeah,
it's cool as is too. I like it.
yeah.
I like it a lot. All right, good job, Milos. Number 16, Breathless. There you
Oh
go.
shit! I didn't know this one was going in. This is an interesting story. This is probably the perfect time for this. This was if I showed you the OG and you could actually message me after this and I could drop it for you so you could take a look. This Sierra, I went to the Southeast Asia for some work about a year ago, and actually almost 2 years ago. Sorry, and some of the people there were telling me how they love sriracha, right? And a lot of people mix it with octopus in certain plates, and I was like, oh, that sounds disgusting. And we just talked about it for a quick thing, and it just always stuck in my head. And originally, this design, which is nothing like it is now, was this octopus holding a bottle of sriracha this way, right? The horizontally, not even on an angle like this. It was horizontal, and I think that was it. Again, I'll send you this image. It was just kind of a play on that. I was like, and I was like, this might do well because people just fucking love sriracha and it's all over the place. And I did some more research into it. And the more research I did into it after Sierra did this already, I was like, fuck. Because I did a quick search and it said like sriracha is not trademarked. The woman who came up with this allows anyone to use its image. I was like, oh. And then I told him that. He started working, and then I followed up again. I was like, oh, fuck, I didn't read far enough into this. It looks like the only thing you cannot use is the green cap. You know how it's a red bottle, green cap? The green cap is what is the only thing they said that's specific to us. I was like, fuck. So he switched it to a blue cap, and it turned out none of it mattered. I shared it with Casey, and he's like, I don't know about this. Do people really eat that? I'm like, well, the people I talked to did. And it got to the point where it was like, it was not working. And I was like, since I'm not a designer and I'm not designing it myself, to waste someone else's time is my highest level of anxiety for me. Yeah. So I was like begging Casey, I'm like, what if we change this? What if we change that? He's like, try it. So I'm like, hey, Sierra, what if this turned into a scuba tank? We see the scuba diver. We see the scuba diver in the background. He's sprinting to the surface to get some air. And he just got jacked by an octopus because octopuses steal GoPros and all this shit. We've seen it on YouTube. And that's what we went with. It changed the entire thing. The octopus has really never been tweaked too much outside of some arms and some tentacles and whatnot. But what he's holding and the whole concept changed, and the name to Breathless because he just got his breath stolen from him. And here's where we are. So I'm trying to be subjective. I look at this, and if this was Milos or something, I'd be like, that's dope. I like this. And I really do feel that way. But I've been wrong more often than I've been right. So I hope people like it. I think it's cool. I like the colorway as well. It makes it feel like you're in the ocean. So we'll see how it goes.
I love this, man. And it's so cool because we've seen the octopus done so many ways.
I know. That's another obstacle too. Yeah.
This is a unique perspective on it.
It's got that +1. It's got a story to it too. And again, people are just buying hats to buy hats. They're not sitting there in a restaurant explaining to someone the theory behind fucking where this hat came from and what Breathless means. But I get that. But I still think it looks dope.
Yeah, this is rad. Good job, man.
Thanks.
All right.
Good job, Sierra.
17, Cowbird Country. Page Perception and Superhero Hines. I believe this is a recolor, different, like same submission, recolored. I could be wrong.
But, it looks familiar. I knew this was Page's work before you even I read his name.
Nails these like kind of bird portrait things.
Yeah. Cowbird Country. It definitely looks cool. I could see it being on a hat. I think it has a lot of it's going to have a lot of challenges this week with all the good designs that we've seen so far. I think that might hurt him. And also, I would, like I said, I love a little. I don't know if I guess the yellow around it is necessary with the sunset, but that was the first thing that stuck out to me because it always takes away from me. When an outline is that thick and that bright. But if the sun's going to be there, then it makes sense. It's good. It's definitely a good design. I worry with all this 19 others if it's going to have a good enough chance. You know what I mean? So hopefully it does. But yeah, what are your thoughts on this one?
It's a cool piece. You can see him kind of just change the typical outline. See, it's not outlined at the bottom. I think that's a Clifton move, if not Clifton Sheamus maybe. But I remember people started doing outlines where the bottom wasn't outlined.
Yeah,
like a cool kind of little trick there.
No, that's a really good point. I didn't even notice that until you said it, and that's something I kind of saw but didn't understand what that was for me. That's interesting. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Kind of if you just kind of goes off into the abyss. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a cool piece. It looks cool. I'm not sure the backstory without like looking it up, so like it's not completely obvious to me, but it is a badass looking bird, Western bird. Yeah, it's a cool piece, but yeah, without knowing the full backstory, it's like
exactly, and it's hard. There's so many. You're trying to be like basically 3 of 20. The odds are very slim, you know.
Yeah, but cool piece for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Too. Not
this is cool.
Seamus, Rusty Bees.
Oh, that actually. I got to say that it sounds dumb to say, but it looks legitimately like a lollipop that broke. Yeah. Like it looks. It's like kind of like coming at you. It looks really good. This is good. I think people are gonna like this. I don't know.
It's also a nightmare too if you're a kid dropping the big ass lollipop.
Please, there goes my diabetes. There goes my early onset diabetes, broken in half. I gotta say, man, he did a great job with the lighting on this and the addition of white. The areas he added the white to make it. Wow, this is really good. I really like this. Again, the only thing that holds this one back to me is does it fall under the cool category that Casey always tries to make things fall under? But this is beautiful. I mean, it sounds crazy to call something like this beautiful because it's just a lollipop, but the depth he created with this, the lighting that he did, this is really high end. This is a really good job.
Yeah, this is like almost like a follow up to Rocket Pops, almost like just
right. Yeah, it's just we all were in a theme park at some point in our life. We had this, so it's going off of nostalgia as well, right? So yeah,
for sure.
This is a good looking design. I really like this.
Yeah. It's really nostalgic. It's got that like kind of like watermelon kind of colorway.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Number 19, Sealed Heather. I think this is a re-submission too. I think the original one was black. She ended up getting like a Death Seal one through.
Yes, recently. That one is really nice. And that was another one where I was like, shit, why didn't I think of that? Because it looked really like exactly what it was supposed to be. It looked like it's gonna look really good, I think. This one is good. This has got that maze look, right? It's got like it's a maze, like some sort of what's that Nicolas Cage movie? That they made like a couple of them.
National Treasure.
National, it's got that feel to it. Like this is some treasure I'm looking for. I think the lines being thin like that and everything suggests that embroidery might be pretty cool on this. This is good. This is just another example of Heather growing like a rapidly exceptional pace. It's like just yesterday. It's crazy. It's just like her shit just took a 90-degree turn one day, and I was like, "What the fuck?" In such a good way. This is cool. This is more simplified than other stuff she's done, but like I said, this simplified usually works in the Clink Room, especially for embroidery.
Yeah, it's almost like a cryptocurrency logo.
Yeah, it does feel like
coin logo.
Yeah, you're right.
All right, cool piece. All right, and the last one, supposed to be 20, but Frosted by Cody Manning.
This is cool too. It's got that. This could even be a Halloween hat. I know it sounds ridiculous, but this has got that like terrifying Frosty the Snowman thing. This is cool. I don't know if I've seen Cody's work before, but this is definitely menacing looking. I like it. I like that he went straight on instead of 3/4. I think that helps in this particular instance. I don't even know if. Trying to think if the it probably is. I was gonna say is the black outlining from the eyes down below necessary? Could it just be white on that blue background, which is possible, but I also don't mind the thin black. That's kind of what I was saying before. As long as you didn't go super thick on the black, like a lot of people are doing, I think thin sometimes is better but I also don't know if it's necessary here. But this is a cool design. I like it. Again, I'm not familiar with his work, but I like this. Maybe you could add something to that hat too, instead of it just being straight black. I know the snow is on it, but maybe a buckle of some sort might help as well.
Yeah, or like a feather or something.
Yeah, something.
Just kind of break the symmetry.
Yeah,
it's a nice piece. It's almost like the head version of Snowmore Mr. Nice Guy, you know?
Yeah, that's a really good point. It's a really good
Almost
point. It does feel like that. Yeah.
Itself, but yeah, it's a cool piece, man. Good job, Cody. I think Cody is scheduled to come on the show in a couple weeks too.
Oh, dope.
So that'd be cool.
Right.
But yeah, that's the 20. I didn't change his number, but we did 19 twice. But basically, we did 20, and appreciate you coming by, man. And you've been really gracious with your time. And
no, it's been fun, man. It was so chill.
Cool talking. I think I've known you, got to be like 6 years, but the first time we've actually had an on-air.
Oh yeah. No, it's just been
conversation.
through DM. Yeah.
It's
great. Yeah, thanks for all you do, though. By the way, I'm sure the Clink Room probably tells you that pretty regularly, but you're a staple there, and you've done a lot for the hack community in general. It's pretty freaking cool. Yeah,
I appreciate that.
Man.
It's cool to be recognized by someone like you. Usually I'm being called
ditto.
A talentless non-artist. So
yeah.
So, you know, it's good, but yeah, you've been around forever. Long overdue for you to come on the show, and couldn't think of a better time with your week coming up. So I hope everyone gets a chance to pre-order your hats, and if not, at least be introduced to you.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Work. Yeah. And
happy New Year to you, and happy holidays to you and yours, man. Thank you. Don't get trapped under your boxes back there.
I'll try not to. I got to do something. It's funny because the wall is like 6 feet at least.
You can't tell that. You cannot tell that. That's a really good, interesting tidbit right there.
It's like arm's length, but it's the wall is
the room is a lot bigger than it looks right now. Yeah, that's the long and short of it. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But all right, Layne, appreciate you. And yeah, make sure you guys are liking, subscribing to the channel, and we'll be back next week.
Bye, guys. Thanks again.
Peace.
Peace.
You're at the end of the world as you know it, my dude. Time is up and you out of mood, so what will you do? It's the BP mercenaries not here to...
Brought to you by VFTV.